And, like you said, I'm one of those. I had it and then I lost it. It feels that way, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is because something like the subtle thing kind of crept back in. Is there a practice to kind of clear away what it is that's, I'm so...
Yes,
I've
okay.
been doing yoga all these years.
Yes.
Is there some kind of a practice
Yeah.
to just kind of fall back into that?
Sure. Okay. So there's two places that practice can come from.
Okay.
One of them well. We just talked about it. Sort of a very personal place of achievement and all of that, right?
Yeah.
That's one place. And generally, a lot of what you hear is, if you've gone beyond that, then you don't need to do any practice. And sometimes people even think, even get the idea of like to do any spiritual practice is just a sign of your, total and complete unenlightenment, that kind of idea. Because again, someone can make that you could make that conclusion when you no longer feel motivated to do a practice. And you can also make that conclusion when you have some realization that what you were seeking is what you are. Therefore, why do a practice to get to somewhere that you already are, right? So all that sort of makes sense, right, to the mind. It's like, yeah, why would I do any practice then? Well, that's the thing about the mind. The mind has a hard time really comprehending anything that's not self-motivated, that's not oriented towards achievement. And the only thing it can imagine, when I'm not trying to achieve, hey, there's nothing to do then. But actually, there's a whole different place that you can do whatever the practice is from. And then the practice becomes not a means to necessarily an end. It's not that you're chasing something that's already there. It's not that you're trying to grasp for what you already are. It comes from an acknowledgement of, in a certain manner of speaking, it's the practice of your human qualities becoming more and more transparent. They become more transparent to the truth of your being. They become more and more moved by the truth of your being. They become more and more available to the truth of your being. They become more oriented towards the truth of your being. So I think, like is often the case, one of the most, profound practices that's not goal-oriented is put it this way. There's the idea often, let's say you take something like meditation, that you're meditating to get somewhere or purify something or get rid of something or attain something or something. There's that whole reason to be meditating.
Yeah.
Then there is meditation not as a means to attain anything, but meditation as an expression of your true nature.
Yes.
That's the kind of practice I'm talking about.
Oh, well, I'm doing that.
So you sit down to just express, and what it is to express our true nature is non-grasping, non-fixating, non-conceptualizing. Right? All those are come from our deepest, truest nature. So then it just becomes an expression. And then when you're meditating and it's not a goal-oriented activity, but it's a means of expressing your true nature in a conscious way, what tends to come out of that is almost like a fringe benefit, is the ways that your mind or any part of the old conditioning gets in the way of your true nature or starts to appropriate it. Those just start to bubble up, and those start to be seen. Because for the most part, what they need to do is be seen. to be acknowledged. And when they're seen from your true nature is not trying to fix them, is it? It's not trying to get rid of them. It just sees them, almost like...
Almost laughing at them.
Yeah. It's kind of like, there's that old story of when the Buddha finally saw through the ego structure. And he likened it to a ridgepole builder. And he said, or house builder. And he said, now I know how you build the house. Now you can't build the house anymore. And it was just that recognition, right? Now that I know, now that I see how it moves, I don't have to do anything with it. I see it. I'm on to it. I know it. That's enough. If I really see it, if I truly see it, that's enough. If I don't truly see it, then the seen won't be enough. But if it's truly seen, then you realize you don't need to struggle with it, because why would you struggle against an illusion?
Okay, so by truly seen.
Truly seen.
Okay, because, I've been sitting in that lower space watching, and that's been coming up and doing its thing in the past,
mm-hmm.
Moving throughout me, kind of moving me.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, I recognize as my true nature. And then this egoic, house
mm-hmm.
sprung up. And I'm like, how did it was gradual that
mm-hmm.
it came back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I'm like, why? How completely foolish that I let this happen again.
Okay. So you see then what happens is you're starting to translate your experience and re-describe it to yourself. Like, how could that happen? Why does that happen? Oh my God, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And it's to see it is to see it free from the description of it. Okay, you're not surprised by it. It's happening. It's just it's happening like anything else is happening. You don't walk out and see the sun and go, the sun, why is the sun here? What do I do about the sun in the sky? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And you don't start to create a whole mental framework of what's wrong,
Yeah, and I'm not too stuck in that. Like I said, I haven't been very motivated.
I know. But you get the sense of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's subtle. And
I'm making it sound like it's something. When I give it words, I overemphasize it just so you can't miss it.
Yeah, right.
Inside you, it's something it can be very soft and very subtle.
Yeah.
And so next week, I'm really going to talk about the part that I mentioned really briefly about the transmutation, is when you really start to see this movement of egoic mind in a very subtle way. When you see it with absolutely no pushing away, no denial, no translation, and no description. If you can truly see it like that, the energy of it will transmute into something else, and you'll literally watch it and feel it and experience the energy of it transmute into something else. And you'll see it.
Egoic structure?
Yes. Or any part of the egoic structure. It could be a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a memory, it could be anything, when it's completely and absolutely seen in the most intimate way without trying to push it away or add anything or translate it or describe it or any of that. It's like you see it from a completely naked place. And when you really look at it that way, and you're looking at it in a way that's also soft, because you know how you can like focus down on something and your focusing is rigid?
Yes.
That'll hold it in place too.
Right.
So if it has a certain softness, you'll watch that energy. It starts to transmute or transform itself. How can I say this? It's like you can literally watch, say you were angry, right? And or you just have a little bit of anger arise. And if you were to do what I'm talking about, you'd literally watch anger. And when anger transmutes, it transmutes into clarity. It's not a different energy. It's the same energy, but now it almost like reveals its truer side.
Right. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
You see what I mean?
And as a result of that, gratitude ends up arising.
Yes, exactly.
Rather than anger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, a lot of it is just knowing that the transmutation can happen is what allows it to happen. Just knowing that it can happen really is what allows it. Because if you don't know that it can happen, then unconsciously you're kind of holding all of your what arises in a stable place. You don't even know you're doing it, but you're holding it because it's not in your mind structure that things can actually deeply transform, and that even things you might think are very negative have a very I hate to say the word spiritual quality because it sounds so, spiritual.
Right.
Maybe by next week I'll come up with another way of wording that, but that sounds less spiritual, but you get the sense for now.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been kind of in that place. I know I made it sound like really heavy and everything.
No, you didn't. I didn't hear it as heavy either.
Okay.
Like I said, when I was speaking, I just was speaking in a really overemphasizing, so it couldn't be. But this stuff, this doesn't happen overnight with everything. This is something that rarely happens. Like realization can happen like snapping your finger. This is something that usually it just sort of becomes clear bit by bit.